Okay, let's see if oh my god, broke that. Okay. We will see if audio is working. Let me know if audio is working. I know I ended the last stream and nobody's here. So if somebody does show up, please let you okay, you can hear me now? Good. Okay. Okay, good. We have volume again. We have volume. Okay, good. Gotta love Windows 11 and trying to do some sort of audio on YouTube. It could be a real pain in the ass, but here we are. Looks like we're back. As I was saying, it's raining here in the swamp, which means it's very possible that at any possible moment the power could go out, which of course would kill the stream. So and it could also mess with my Wi-Fi. But hopefully things will stay together, and we'll be able to do swimming with the pontoon number 40 this Sunday. Number 40. I can't believe we've been through this many episodes. I've managed to keep doing these streams. Of course, I've had delays and interruptions and that sort of thing. But here we are, 40 episodes in. Pretty cool, pretty amazing. I am actually relatively surprised that I've continued doing this. I have meant to have more guests on. It has been kind of a crazy year. Uh, Different plans that I had for the channel just kind of haven't fared as well as I had planned. But I want to work on it as time goes on. But we'll at least we'll continue on with the way we've been doing it, and at least touch base every once in a while. Keep doing the things that we do. But anyways, I hope everybody has had a good weekend so far, and just and a great Veterans Day. And if you've served or currently serving, thank you for your service. And we've got the Veterans Day code, which is still active. That's 10% off right now on any of the trigger systems. And then, of course, if you are a veteran or are currently serving, I do have a better code. You can get with me, and I'll get that to you. But anyways, the Glock 49, that one came out of nowhere. Uh, doesn't completely surprise me that they finally released that. When Glock came out with the Generation 5, the 19X initially, which kind of set things in motion, but when they came out with the Generation 5, and really the biggest trick, if you will, was using the Glock 19 based um locking block and barrel design for the Glock 17. Once they did that, they pretty much unlocked the beast, if you will. That allowed obviously the Glock 45 to be a thing, the Glock 17 when well, not Glock 17, but the Glock 47, which is a Glock 19 with a Glock 17 slide on it. Basically, they put one locking block design for pretty much everything at that point. Now, in previous generations, the Glock 26 had basically the same locking block as a 19, so you could build a Glock 26L. I built one of those at one point. I took it apart. I always felt it was just unbalanced. This new Glock 49, which is something we basically used to call a Glock 19L, that's what when the Glock 19X dropped, everybody was complaining. They wanted the 19L, or what the 49 is now. Everybody was bitching and moaning. And well, here we are. We've got the Glock 49 now. Personally, I like the 19X style. The Glock 45 with the longer grip and the shorter barrel. But here we are. We've got the Glock 49, something you really basically could have built yourself up until this point. Yes, the Glock 47 is basically a Glock 19 grip with a 17 slide that's got the little bull or the kind of like the Glock 34 has that little place for the recoil assembly. So yeah, I just the 19L people have built them several, whether it was grip chopping a 17. I always felt that they were just kind of unbalanced. It's just me. Like I said, when the 19X dropped, everybody was saying they should have came out with the 19L, and here we are. What, 4 years later? 49. Oh, yeah, yeah. The 40 the Glock 45 with the 17 slide length is the 47, and now we've got the 49. It's when it comes to the trigger, they all use the basic same pack, the same trigger pack. So for me, pretty simple. Generation 5, 19X, Generation 5. And still to this day, people still, when ordering triggers, I still get emails and messages. I have a Glock 19X. What trigger do I use? What generation? So I still, to this day, still happens. Especially if you're not in the business each and every day. So it makes sense. I used to run into, uh, I would have in my drop down menu, I would have the 19X slash generation 5 or generation 5 slash 19X. It would actually throw people off and they would think that I just built triggers for the 19X, not the generation 5. There was never really a good way to do it unless I made a separate drop down for the 19X and the generation 5. But then when you do that from a website perspective, then you look at adding so many more options that if you do have to make some sort of change, stock wise or color wise, it just becomes a lot more complicated. I can't build any more 19s. The full size grip is where it's at for me. Yes, Stuart. I'm all about the full size grip. I like 19s. I do like a 19, but I prefer the Glock 19X or Glock 45 grip length, Glock 17 grip length. So I definitely, one of the things I do want to build would be what you might call a 32X or basically a Glock 32 with the 17 grip length or Glock 31 grip length. Hey, yes. What's up, Christian? Number 40. We are here. Glock has been out of pocket for quite some time. I'm with you there, Andy. There's not been any real, not a huge amount of innovation, but at the same time, that being said, when I compare them to SIG, American SIG at this point, when they're SIG's releasing a new model of the 365 every week, it seems like, and they're all slight variations and technical innovations, that sort of thing. I would rather Glock's innovation versus what SIG for me personally, and having the 365, I was never that impressed with it. Aside, round count, if you will, was great. Trigger always felt really cheap. The grips always felt just the plastic, the polymer. It just always felt really cheap on it just 365s never got me. Had a 320. I have a 320. I really was for a while. The 320 was something I was excited about, even after the whole drop safety stuff that continues somewhat to this day. I was excited about the 320, but that quickly, I actually have a prototype design for a trigger for the 320. I do. but I just it doesn't excite me, and so I've kind of let that go. Maybe one day, probably not. I still carry spring kits for the 320 and 365. Whether or not I replenish those when they sell out, I'm really not sure. The Glock speaks my language, and maybe from a business standpoint, that's not the smartest thing to do. But if I'm not terribly excited about it, I'm probably not going to put the energy in it that I would. So Glock still excites me. I still get excited about doing what I do to Glock triggers. So, that keeps me in the game. Let's see, Steven. I just got a Glock or just got a Zev OZ9 covert for half price. Fly with 19 grip. Yeah, you don't like yeah. And the OZ9 grips for me always felt kind of odd. That's why when I did pick up a full-time shop OZ9, I had that thing stippled. Just something funny about from for my little baby hands just didn't work for me. Stippled, I like them. Jeff Engel, what's up? Good to have you here, Jeff. Good to have you here. Josh Garcia, you have a GST frame and there's no reset on the trigger. What would be a good, easy fix for that? When you say there's no reset on the trigger, are you neon hands? uh, on your GST, when you say there's no reset on the trigger, do you mean that it's not an audible reset, or the trigger when you go to reset it just fires again, or is it just doesn't reset at all? It just doesn't come forward. The trigger doesn't come forward, because that could be a variety of different things. So let me know and I'll see what I can do. The trigger does not reset at all. Okay. So if the trigger does not come forward when you go to reset, most likely it is the trigger spring itself. Most likely. If Yeah, most likely. So what I would do is I would pull the slide off. Do you have aftermarket springs? For um like I said, pull the slide off and look and make sure that the spring hook for the trigger spring on the trigger bar is vertical. A lot of times, if that trigger spring, when you're putting it in, especially like you said, if it's a Safari trigger kit, uh, trigger, it's got reduced travel. Sometimes when you're going to put those in, you will twist the bar or something, getting it in place, and it can push that spring left or right, and that will cause a failure to reset a lot of times. That's the first place I would look. That's the first place I would look. Um, yep. If you check and that's not it, hit me up or during the stream. Let me know. That's the first place I always look when it comes to not having a reset like that. So then, of course, if it's not that, then I would start looking at the interface. That's one place, or even the tension on the connector itself. So if you don't have enough tension, it can cause some issues too. Let's see here. I have a trigger that I was doing some troubleshooting on before the stream. Just 1 second. Have an issue where the trigger itself seems to be there's some drag in the system itself. When a trigger is installed, basically when you have a trigger in a frame, it's kind of a not so much a reset issue, but the trigger itself in the frame, if you basically what pulls it forward is the striker. Okay, and the striker spring. That pulls on the trigger bar, which pulls the trigger forward. What's going on with this trigger I'm troubleshooting is it resets and it pulls it forward, but not all the way. So what's happening is the safety is catching on the frame itself and not dropping down. Now he can take his finger and pull the trigger forward, which means it's not a travel issue. There's additional friction in the system. We checked the trigger spring itself. Everything was vertical as it should be. I had him replace the striker spring with a factory striker spring to see if maybe the reduced weight striker spring was not pulling the trigger forward. With the factory striker spring, still having issues. He did have a factory 5-pound trigger spring, so it wasn't an overpowered trigger spring. So there is additional friction in the system. What I'm going to do is I'm actually having him send it back to me to verify that there's nothing wrong with the trigger shoe itself, whether it's tolerances on the trigger pin or anything else like that. Most likely, what's happening is there's additional friction, whether it's the slide stop lever. A lot of time, especially a new build, you're going to have additional friction. He hasn't shot the gun yet. It's not terribly um, experienced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look it over, look at it in a frame, a couple different frames, see if there's some friction in the trigger system itself, and we'll go from there. Yes. He also had aftermarket trigger pins pins for the Glock. I had him put the factory ones back in. He was still running into an issue. So there's an additional drag in the system somewhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to verify that it's not a trigger itself. So and unfortunately, uh, when he was removing the trigger assembly at one point or reinstalling it, he got a little bit excited and he pushed the pin through the bottom of the trigger housing. So he broke the trigger housing and he used his factory one. Um, well, it's a dagger. He used his dagger trigger assembly housing. I'm going to replace it with mine just in case, but that shouldn't be an issue. Really believe there's additional. It's probably the slide stop lever. But we're going to check it out. We're going to get it all fixed up because that's what Tactical Pontoon does. So, anyways, Glock 49. Everybody's excited. We got the Glock 49. Yeah, not me. I wouldn't do a Glock 49 or a 19L. Just always felt awkward to me. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a Glock 17L with a compensator. That is a long gun. However, yeah, he punched the roll pin right through it. Things happen. But of course, it does have an extended magazine, so it balances out a little bit. But that's kind of a range toy. So another thing. I've heard. I haven't watched the video or anything, but I guess there Johnny Glock has introduced a variation of the Timney / Glock performance trigger for the Glock 43 slimlines. I haven't watched it. People have sent me messages about it. I haven't checked it out. I saw he had a new video. I haven't watched one of his videos in a while. Gonna be completely honest. I got my own thing I'm doing. If I'm not a huge fan of the Timney style trigger. The Glock performance trigger is a better variation of that. However, it still has its issues. It still has some issues that I'm not a huge fan of. That's one of the reasons why I don't push the Glock performance trigger itself, is because while it is better than the Timney, it's still not perfect. And especially with the Timney, I don't put my reputation out on it. But at the same time, it's kind of neat for people that like that style of trigger for the Glock 43. I guess again, I've only heard just what people have told me. I haven't watched. The Glock 43 trigger does need help. That's why I'm around. And that's why I actually, this year alone, I have built more Glock 43, CR920, 43X, 48 triggers, soon to be micro daggers, than any other year previously. It's an extremely popular segment of the market, and I believe it will continue to be so, or do so, or however. So obviously there's room for everybody. I hope I hope they work out great for him. I've replaced a lot of Timneys for people, and I will continue to build the best damn Glock 43 trigger system there is. Plain and simple. I have about 5 of them right now on the books of the Peacemaker Extreme carries that I'll be finishing up tomorrow. And I don't see that changing. Um, they really do. The factory triggers suck for the slim lines. The CR920 even worse. The one thing the one thing that I will say so far about the micro dagger, it's got one of the better. Now it still has a really long reset, but it has one of the lighter breaks a good break compared to the other Glock 43s. Definitely better than the CR920. So yeah, I'm not seeing the Timneys around as much as I used to. I still see them. They've definitely gone down in price. Even the Glock Performance trigger, I think we're seeing them around $70 compared to the 100 that they launched at. I've not built a lot of the Glock Performance triggers. I don't get a lot of questions about the Glock Performance trigger. I do watch out there in different groups and whatnot. There are some issues with the Glock Performance trigger when it comes to its reliability. And I've said this, and even Glock, when they basically, there was a period of time where they kind of relaunched them. They were out of stock, which doesn't surprise me. I knew that they would sell out almost immediately, but there was a good month or two. And when the new ones came out, they had an additional requirement for oiling, lubrication, and taking care of maintenance of your trigger. That guide came in the newer ones because there's a lot more metal to metal in that system. And it's not quite as reliable, in my personal opinion, what I've seen, as a normal Glock. I also prefer the way that my triggers break. Even a tuned version that I tune of the Glock Performance trigger, I prefer the older style break. Just the way, just my preference. Now, if a person wants me to tune a Glock Performance trigger, I'm all for it. The Timney trigger, I personally won't touch anybody's Timney trigger. I just I just won't do it. It's not it's not something I'm going to put my reputation behind. It's not something I'm going to touch. Same with the binary trigger. If a person has a binary trigger and they want to send it through the Pontoonize Your Trigger program, I do need to actually make a note of that and put it on the website. I'm not going to touch anybody's binary trigger. Um, they're neat, they're fun. It's not for me. And you can buy a trigger shoe from me and put those on there all day long. I know Franklin Armory finally I believe dropped theirs, which is the better. If you were going to do a binary trigger, setup. Obviously, Franklin Armory is not cheap. You get the slide too. It's got the switch. That would be the way to do it. The G Flex one, eh, that one's a little iffy there. And I know JSD Armory is supposed to be doing a binary trigger. So, uh, eh, again, not going to touch them. Not going to touch a binary trigger. Yes. People worry about weight versus character. Yes, they worry so much about weight, and there's a feel to it. And if you miss the feel and you just got a really light trigger, because that's what I ran into when I first got a Glock and started playing with it, it was all about the weight. It was all about the weight. And once I got it down to like 2 pounds, the feel was atrocious. It was just nasty. And I'm like, this just feels like crap. And I put everything back factory and I liked it better because I actually had a little bit more of a wall. So that's what got me kind of started looking at different things. And I bought different trigger shoes. Again, very new, very did not know what was going on. I didn't really recognize the fact that for the most part, all of these trigger shoes follow along the same geometry with variations in travel and obviously looks. But for the most part, the geometry is all basically the same. It's where you can put your finger at, and if it matches your build. Um, so I bought different trigger shoes. I checked out different connectors, and I came to the conclusion. I came around and found that there was so much of the same thing being offered out there. Uh, that's kind of where it started for me, and I fell down the rabbit hole of just weight. But then I realized it's feel. If you've got a good crisp break to it, that's really where it's at. I'd rather have a 7-pound trigger that broke really clean than a trigger that just kind of had a mush and then it just whoop, there it goes. So that's kind of been my philosophy behind things. I may not have the lightest triggers in the entire world, but I don't need to. So if you're looking for Timney 1.5 pound, half pound light, probably not going to find it from Tactical Pontoon. And I'm okay with that. I'd rather it be tactile, rather have a good reset, something that makes a difference. Nothing like a good glass break. Yes, Douglas, that is true. That's me. Good clean break and a nice fast reset. Um, you know, and then the other thing, kind of a something I fell into originally with my second generation of triggers, and when I went with another company that starts with an R, is pre-travel. I fell down the zero pre-travel thing or low pre-travel. Didn't fully understand at first all of the safety things that go along with it, which I have since definitely gone down that rabbit hole, and that's why we have the Leonidas today. Is if you if you're concentrated completely on just removing all of the pre-travel as quickly and easily as possible, like some other triggers out there, starts with an R, um, and you run into issues with safety. Yes, falling off the shelf pre-travel. Originally ran into that. The thing is, do you really need to remove all of the pre-travel? Now, I build the Leonidas system. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge fan of pre-travel, but let's be completely honest. If you have a good clean pre-travel up to a good firm wall, you're okay. It's really okay to have some pre-travel there. Now, again, like I said, I build a system with no pre-travel. I build it. It takes a lot of work to get right and to be safe. But do you absolutely have to have that? Reality is no. Okay? You don't need a Leonidas. You don't need one of my zero pre-travel systems. But if you want one, I build it and it does. It takes a lot of work to make it safe and to do it right. There are a couple other triggers out there that go almost all the way up to the wall with not the same amount of work to them. But again, when it comes to actual shooting and shooting fast, it's okay to have a little bit of pre-travel because the reality is you're going to shoot that first shot is going to travel through to the wall. You're going to break and you're going to ride that reset. So you're only going to have that initial travel really that first shot. So I love the Leonidas. I have a lot of them on the plate right now to build. And maybe this is me shooting myself in the foot, but I do try to be, honest, maybe to a fault, maybe to my own fault. But do you need a Leonidas? If you need it, I can build it, but at the same time, you've got the Heisenberg systems, which do have pre-travel, but they have that super fast reset, which means you can ride that reset and just rock and roll all day long. So again, that's just me being honest. That's just me doing what I do. I will build aside from binary and that sort of thing. I'll build what people want. I love the Leonidases. I have them in my own guns as well. What's up, Dave? Good to have you here, sir. Good to have you here. Late but not forgotten. Desert Tactical, great channel. He's growing. He's gonna surpass the Tactical Pontoon channel any day now, no doubt about it. Good dude. Need to have him on the channel. I need to have a lot of guests on the channel. I have been very lax about getting guests on the channel. This is my fault. I have had things going on and I've let it fall to the wayside. Same with videos. I'm going to be honest. Uh, after the whole Overwatch incident, I've been less than excited about doing videos than I was initially. So we'll get back to it. We will get back to it. It's almost the end of the year. It's been a great year. Extremely thankful for everybody who's given me a chance to build something for them. I cannot thank you guys enough. I look forward to doing even more next year. I've got some plans to expand the lineup. Perhaps, excuse me, perhaps a variation of a tactical pontoon trigger shoe. Something's in work. Something's in work, but these things do take time. They're not an overnight thing. And before before I put my name on something, I want it to be right. I want it to be where it needs to be. I would prefer you guys aren't my beta testers. So that's the plan. We'll see as things go along. Oh, I don't know if I showed you these guys. I did list them on the website. Little trigger Jedi. Look at that little guy, little keychain. Only have so many of these. I did not make a whole bunch of these. These are neat. These are kind of fun. Kind of fun. We've got the other keychains with the scan bar on them, but these little trigger Jedis, they're fun. They're on the website. $7. Pair it with a trigger perch. Don't buy it by itself. New patches. I still have these patches. The I haven't even listed them on the website because they were kind of an accident. My original plan was not to have a fabric patch, and I only made so many of them. My plan was to have PVC patches made. They are in work. Those take a little bit of time. I accidentally ordered the fabric ones. I'm giving those out to certain people. Jeff, you're being one of them. You being one of them. Um, I've only sent out a few of them. I do have PVC patches on the way. They're coming. They take a while. It'll be a Trigger Jedi PVC patch. Hopefully I'll get more word back. They take time to make the molds and that sort of thing. It should have been earlier. Maybe hopefully by Christmas time they'll be available. I made a mistake when it came to ordering those. For you guys will get them. So you guys will get those. Um so we've got those. The other thing that should come in really soon is magnets with the Peacemaker logo on them. They will be 3-inch magnets, like refrigerator or toolbox magnets. Those are coming in with this Peacemaker logo on them. Let's get up close. There we go. This logo, but a 3-inch magnet. Put it on your refrigerator, toolbox, gun cabinet. Those are coming very soon. So that'll be close to Christmas time. Be great for a stocking stuffer or something. Andy, yes, you do need one. Everybody needs one. I think, of course, I didn't order enough for everybody. So what we'll do is we'll get the initial batches sold, and we'll go from there. That is one thing. I was tired of having boring stickers for a long time. All I had was basic, boring tactical pontoon stickers, but I wanted to go out there. I wanted to do something fun. So there will be, I have a design for a Christmas sticker. We will see if it makes it in time. We will see if it makes it in time. All right. Well, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you like them. There's you know, I try to build triggers that are worthy. It takes a lot of work. It does. But yeah. Oh yes. +5 mag extensions for the Leonidas systems. Let's get up here. We'll get close. Boom. With the Tactical Pontoon logo up front and Leonidas on the side. These guys are, if you want to show off that you have a Leonidas trigger, if you want to show, well, I'll talk about that here in a moment, Dave. If you want to show off that you have the best damn trigger system in the world with a +5 mag extension, these are available on the website under parts and extras. It's there. I've got a few of those. I will be adding more as time goes on. I only added a few of them. I will be doing more of those. Something that I've it's actually coming in house now is laser etching. That is something that is basically coming directly in house now. I personally will be doing laser etching on different things. I used to kind of contract that out to my brother. Things are changing for him, and that is coming in house. So I might actually have a little bit better turnaround ish, depending on my work schedule. Yes, Christian, you mentioned that. Do my signature and laser etch it. That could be kind of cool. I people might be interested in that. That'd be fun. Okay. The brace injunction. Um, we can have braces again for now. I know they wanted us to send off for stamps and that sort of thing. A lot of people did. I lost all mine in a boating accident, and it appears that we may have found them. It appears we may have found them. The reality of it all is it's they did. Like Steven said. Um People were tricked. People, you went and registered all of them, and the reality is if they want to do something crazy, they're going to try to do something crazy anyways. I decided to go fishing that day and wait things out, and here we are. We'll see what goes on. We will see what goes on. I haven't been too terribly excited about any ARs here in a while. I don't know why. I built a couple. They're fun. I do enjoy shooting them, but at the same time, not the same as Glock. Not the same as a Glock. With and I prefer shorter ones. Kind of like myself. Short little guy, like the shorter ARs and AR pistols, AR9, 300 blackout. So pretty much most of what I had built were pistols, braced pistols. So when all of that happened, I was definitely it took my excitement for ever building any more of them down a peg or two. Really did. So I'm glad. I'm glad that the tide changed for now. We will see. This is a crazy, crazy world that we live in, crazy times. When you look at the whole Lake City ammunition, rumors that went about, there's a lot of control that goes on in the world. There's a lot of things that get pushed to us for us to panic buy, to get excited about. I personally try to not get excited about too many things because things change the next day. Having come from a corporate background where everything was a panic, military aviation, getting those planes back in the air and meeting certain schedules, everything was a panic. Everything was a panic. Everything had to be done right then and there. What I always found was you would get a manager who wanted to get check marks on, boxes with check marks. Okay. So he could go report to his manager that he got something done. Didn't matter if it was out of order, he could put a check mark in his box. Okay. So what he would do is it would get down my way because I ran a fabrication shop where we would do rebuild of parts or building new parts. And we would have to, you know, get things to them. So what they would do is they would push it down my way. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. They would drop something off on a Friday, and so they could go take the weekend off, so that we could get it, which would then push us to work the weekend, so that they could pick it up on Monday or pick it up on Sunday. Well, a lot of times what would happen is they then got that box check marked, and by Tuesday or Wednesday, the part was still sitting on my table, finished. We could have done it on Monday. We could have done it on Tuesday. Um, so what I learned was when it actually mattered, it was basically what I learned was be calm, do what you can do what you need to do, and don't get excited because things change. And a lot of times, even they would they would have things that were extremely hot to get done, and initially we would get started on something, and the next thing we knew, it changed. They had different priorities, which would then make us have to retool for something else. After we had spent a day or two getting tooled up, or half a shift getting tooled up for something that they initially planned, only to have to break it down to do the next thing. So, what I learned was to be patient, breathe a little bit, wait it out, and then if things truly are what they seem to be, then you respond. But that's it's neither here nor there. Anyways, AAC 77 grain. It's heavy stuff. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I have I've been buying parts for Tactical Pontoon. As I said, I'm working on growing the basically the capabilities of not only the shop but also what I've got on the website. We've got more mag wells for the Generation 3s, got the Generation 5s, the +5 mag extensions, dimpled pins. I'm looking at adding like +0 base plates. I'd like to do some mag releases, maybe some sights. Haven't quite decided whether I want to do sights or not. Um, Another growth area is optics. The mag extensions are by Gunco. Gunco builds the mag extensions. The last video I did was how to assemble them. Had some people that didn't quite understand how to do it. A little bit more involved than say like a Zev, but really it's not too bad. Optics are a growth area. I've noticed quite a few more options on the market, which even on the inexpensive side are actually really, really good quality. You know, you're not going to be able to beat them on a rock the same way that you might one of the older Trigicons. But if you look at the SRO, I mean that's been kind of an issue for them for a while. But optics, not sure. When I had an in with Swamp Fox, I actually had a dealer account with them, but I never stocked up. Now that my contact with Swamp Fox has moved over, I might look at Gideon Optics. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to add those to the website. We will see. We will see. But there will be more options as time goes on. I know. I really like the Swamp Fox optics. They've been really good to me. I like the quality for the money. The original Liberators, was it Liberators? Kingslayers. The original Kingslayers, they were cheap. They were kind of bulky. They were not the best options. But when they came out with the second generation with the Liberty and the Justice, excellent sights. So Siley looks to be, from what I can tell, I don't have any inside observations on this, but those look to be made by the same manufacturer as Swamp Fox, especially when you look at their Kraken, or the Swamp Fox Kraken versus the Siley Wolverine or something, which kind of tells me it's probably not a bad option, and their prices are really good. I haven't picked one up to look at the web to look in the shop just yet. What was the other? There was had something. Don't remember what it was. But yes, optics are one thing that I may look at adding into the mix. My main goal is to continue with triggers. Triggers are what make Tactical Pontoon what it is. But having the ability to kind of one-stop shop for certain things, or certain things that I believe in, you know, I'm good with that. If it's, I'm not going to put crap on the website. I put my face out there with the Tactical Pontoon name far too much for me to undermine my own, to undermine myself. I don't want my face out there with my sticker and my likeness out there, knowing to have put crap out. Definitely not my way to do things. But yeah. Oh, I I talked a little bit about this on another live stream, and I put a post on Instagram a while back. Uh, GG or Get it's Grit Grips frame. They've got a Glock 19 based frame that's coming out. I should I've known a little bit about this for a little while. Couldn't talk a lot about it contract wise. I was given some inside information from them, but I had to be quiet about it. But it's almost out, guys. It's getting here. I should have one. I'm allowed to talk about it now. I should have an early one to look at soon. And obviously, I will share with you guys my thoughts on it. I am excited about it. I think this is going to be a very nice option. I foresee it being up there with Nomad, but I think it's going to, from what I understand, price wise, it's probably going to undercut Nomad a bit. I am a huge fan of the Nomad frame. To have an option that, and Nomad has been very good to me. I use a lot of their trigger block housings. I order directly from them. So again, uh, huge fan of Nomad. Their frames, I've been extremely impressed with them. It's my favorite aftermarket frame. Now we may have another option, maybe a little bit cheaper. We will see. Price wise, we'll see. Function wise, it should have molded in rails. It looks to have really good ergonomics. They understand the ergonomics of it versus SCT. I love the SCT frame. Not the most ergonomic frame ever. Not really. But I like the look of that frame. But with the Grit Grips frame, I think we've got a really nice contender. If you're looking for another Glock 19 frame, it might be the way to go. The Dagger is a very ergonomic frame. There are a couple things that I'm not a huge fan of in the Dagger that I do like about the Micro Dagger frame that they've upgraded. I think that's one of the reasons why the Micro Dagger's taking a little bit longer, is because they're upgrading some of the things that they saw wrong. Well, not wrong, but shortcomings, if you will, of the full size or compact Dagger. So maybe we'll get a Dagger version 2, which would add another option on the market. It's definitely a great time to be a Glock fan or a Glock builder, somebody who enjoys building, Glock clones, if you will. I still love a factory Glock frame. Don't get me wrong. They definitely, when it comes to stippling, the Glock frame is the easiest one, and it looks the best when it's stippled compared to the aftermarket ones. It's just the aftermarket ones normally have a higher fiberglass content, which makes them burn a little bit crispier. So, all right, guys. I think I'm going to call it an evening. We've had a pretty good little swimming with the pontoon event here. I know we had the initial little issues with audio, but it appears to have been good now. So we'll do this again next week. Let's see, next week. I may be gone next week. I'm actually probably going to be out of town the end of next week, or basically next weekend. So I'll probably have to catch up with you guys the weekend after. There's a very good possibility I may pick up another project car. We will see. I'm kind of fighting against it. I'm still in the middle of pulling the engine out of my current project car. So I really don't need another project, but the price is really good, but it's kind of an iffy thing because from what it looks like, It's one of those things where a guy got divorced and the car seems to be on her land. Like the price was really good. And as I was negotiating and talking with him, I started to see the issues, if you will. Needs a transmission. He has an extra transmission, but it's locked up in the shed. And he said I needed to talk to her to get it. So supposed to have a free and clear title. We'll see. Anyways, guys, that's the life of a tinkerer. Hopefully I don't get it. To be completely honest, I don't need another project car. Don't need another project car. I've got enough stuff going on, but we'll see. All right, everybody, have a great evening. Have a great week. As always, if you need anything, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, tacticalpontoon@gmail.com, Facebook Messenger, Instagram. Instagram's still funny, still not getting all the messages like I should. I still run into delayed messages there. But like I said, Facebook Messenger, email. I will I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. All right, guys. I'll catch you next time.